Hi, Grandma here, and I'm reading Cheaper by the Dozen, Chapter 18, Motorcycle Mac, and I am beginning on 194 at the bottom of the page for part 2. And this is mostly about the shieks, as they're described at, who are going out with and paying attention to and calling on the girls. Frank, Bill, and Lil fought gamely against the invasion, but in vain. More effective, although unpremeditated, were the obstacles erected by the 4 little boys, Fred, Dan, Jack, and Bob, who kept running in and out of the rooms where the older girls were entertaining their callers. "I'm living through what can only be described as hell on earth," Anne moaned to Mother. "It's impossible to entertain at home with a troop of 4 berserk little boys. Something drastic has to be done about them." "Well, what's the matter with them?" "They're in and out of the porch all evening, up in my lap, up in my friend's lap, under the hammock, over the hammock, in and out, up and down, over and under, until I'm about to go daft." "Well, what do you suggest, dear?" "Tie them down." At the end of one particular evening, Anne became almost hysterical. "I am fed up to my eyeballs with that button brigade," she sobbed. "They're driving me crazy. Screaming mad. How can you expect any boy to get into a romantic mood when you have to button and unbutton all evening?" Now, I'm going to pause here. Back then, there weren't as many zippers and snaps as we have today. And so their pants had to be unbuttoned for them to go to the bathroom, and then they had to be buttoned up again. "Well, they're not supposed to get into romantic moods," Dad said. "That's just what we don't want around here." Anne paid no attention to him. "It's Andy, unbutton me. I have to get undressed. It's Andy, button me up. I'm cold. It's Andy, it's 3 o'clock in the button factory. I tell you, Mother, it's just too much of a handicap to endure. You're going to have to do something about it unless you want all your daughters to remain old maids." "You're right," Mother conceded. "I'll do my best to keep them upstairs the next time you have company. I wonder what 4 sets of leg irons would cost." The opposition of Frank, Bill, and Lil was less subtle. "You want to speak to Martha?" Frank would say in an incredulous voice when one of her shieks would telephone. "You're absolutely sure you haven't got her mixed up with somebody else? You mean Martha Gilbreth, the one with all the freckles? Oh, mercy, don't hang up, please. Are you still there? Thank goodness, please don't hang up." Then, holding the telephone so that the boy on the other end could still hear him, Frank would shout desperately, "Martha, come quick! Imagine it's a boy calling for you! Isn't that wonderful? Hurry up, he might hang up." "Give me that phone, you little snake in the grass," Martha would scream in white rage. "When I get through, I'll tear your eyes out, you unspeakable little brat, you." And then in a honeyed voice into the mouthpiece, "Hello, who? Well, good looking. Where have you been all my life? You have? Well, I've been waiting too. Uh-huh." One of Ernestine's admirers was shy and subdued, and never could bring himself to tell her what he thought of her. After he'd been calling on her for almost a year, he finally mustered his courage and had a beautiful picture taken of himself. Then he inscribed across the bottom of the picture in purple ink a very special message. The message said, "All my fondest thoughts are of you, dearest Ernestine." He couldn't bring himself to give the picture to her personally, so he wrapped it up, insured it for $100, and sent it through the mail. Ern kept it hidden in a bureau drawer, but no hiding place in our house was any too safe, and the junior high school contingent finally discovered it, memorized it, put it to music, and learned a 3-part harmony for it. The next time the bashful boy came to call, Frank, Bill, and Lil hidden in a closet under the front steps, started to sing, "All my fondest thoughts are of you. Yes, nobody else but you, my dearest Ernestine. I don't mean Anne, I don't mean Mark, my dearest Ernestine." The shrinking sheik turned a bright crimson and actually cringed against the hat rack, while Ernestine picked up one of Dad's walking sticks and started after the younger set, bent on premeditated, cold-blooded mayhem. As a matter of routine, Frank and Bill would answer the front door when a sheik came to call and subject him to preliminary going over, designed to make him feel ill at ease for the balance of the evening. "Look at that suit," Frank would say, opening the coat and examining the inside label. "I thought so. Larky's Boys School Store. Calling all lads to Larky's college cut clothes with 2 pairs of trousers for only $17.50. This fellow's a real sport, all right." "Oh, pipe the snaky socks," Bill would say, lifting up the sheik's pant leg. "Green socks, blue tie, yellow shoes." "You kids, cut it out or I'll knock you into the middle of next week," the sheik would protest hopelessly. "Have a heart, will you? Beat it now. Tell your sister I'm here." Frank brought out a folding ruler that he'd slipped into his pocket a few minutes before and measured the cuffs of the visitor's pants. 23 inches, Frank told Bill. "That's collegiate, all right, but it's 2 inches less collegiate than the cuffs of Anne's sheik. Let's see that tie. Let's see that underwear," Bill suggested. "Hey, stop that," the sheik protested. "Get your hands off me. Go tell your sister that I'm here, or there's going to be trouble." I'm going to pause here and say, little brothers are always that way. My little brother was the same. Not quite as devious as these kids are, but he also was a problem child. When I was 16, he was only 6. So that's what happens with little brothers. One of Ernestine's sheiks drove a motorcycle madly around town and used to buzz our place 3 or 4 times a night in hopes of catching sight of her. Mother and Dad didn't allow the boys to come on school nights, but there was always a chance Ernestine might be out in the yard or standing by a window. One night, he parked his motorcycle a couple blocks away, crept up to the house, and climbed a cherry tree near Ernestine's bedroom window. Fortunately for the motorcyclist, Dad was out of town on business. Ernestine was doing her homework and had a spooky feeling she was being watched through an open window. It suddenly occurred to her that she hadn't heard the motorcycle go chugging by the house for several hours, and she immediately grew suspicious. She walked into a dark room, peeked out from behind a shade, and saw the sheik high up in the cherry tree, silhouetted against the moon. She was furious. "That sneaking, peeping Tom," she told Anne. "Good golly, I was just about to get undressed. There's no telling what he might have seen. If I hadn't had that creepy feeling I was being watched, the sight probably would have toppled him right out of the tree," Anne said a little sarcastically. "Do you think he knows you saw him?" "I don't know, but I don't think so." "Come on, we'll peek out that dark window again," Anne said. "If he's still there, I've got an idea." He was still there, and Anne quickly rounded up Martha, Frank, Bill, and Lillian. "There's a peeping Tom in the cherry tree," Anne explained. "One of Ernestine's. He needs to be taught a lesson. If he gets away with it and tells the other boys around school, our cherry trees are going to look like the bleachers at the polo grounds." "It would certainly play hob with the crop," Frank said. "Now, not a word to Mother," Anne continued, "because she'll play her part better if she doesn't know what's going on. Ernestine, go back to your room and tease him along. Don't pull down your shades. Comb your hair, take off your shoes and socks, even fiddle around with the buttons on your dress if you want to, anything to keep him interested. The rest of you come with me." We went down into the cellar where Anne took some wire and fastened a rag to the end of the stick. The rest of us loaded our arms with old newspapers, Excelsior, and packing boxes. Then outside, Anne poured kerosene over the rag, lighted it, and led a torch parade from the cellar toward the cherry tree. Ernst Shiek was so interested in what seemed about to transform in the bedroom that he didn't notice us at first. But as the parade drew closer, he looked down. We formed a ring around the base of the tree and one by one deposited our combustibles at the trunk. That's the newspapers and cardboard. As a pile of refuse grew, Anne swung her torch closer and closer to it. "Christmas!" the peeping Tom shouted in terror. "Are you trying to burn me at the stake? Don't set fire to that. You'll roast me alive." "Precisely," said Anne. "Precisely what you deserve, too. If you know any prayers, start babbling them." "It was just a prank," he pleaded. "Just a boyish prank. That's all. Watch out for that torch. Let me come down. I'll go quietly." "Let you come down nothing," said Martha. "You evil-minded thing. Let you come down and spread the story all over town about how you climbed our cherry tree and put one over on the Gilbert family? I should say not." Anne swung the torch near the pile of refuse. "Look out!" the peeping Tom shrieked. "You wouldn't roast me alive in cold blood, would you?" "By God, I believe you would." "Of course we would," Frank said. "Dead men tell no tales." Ernestine stuck her head out of the window. "Have you got him trapped?" she called. "Good. I've been fiddling with the buttons on my dress so long I'm about to wear the skin off my fingertips. Is he who I think he is?" "None other," said Anne. "Motorcycle Mac himself in the soon-to-be seared flesh, treed like a tree toad in a tree." "Don't cremate him until I get down there. I want to see the fun," Ernestine begged. Motorcycle Mac was alternately whimpering and cursing when Ernestine joined the ring around the cherry tree. "I always thought he was a nasty boy anyway," Ernestine said. "Sheiks are hard to find, and goodness knows I don't have too many of them, but he's one I'll be glad to sacrifice." "I don't blame you," said Martha. "He's a particularly disagreeable one, all right. He's even a crybaby. I hope when it comes my time to cash in my chips, I'll be able to go out with a trace of a smile on my beautiful lips, like Wally Reed." "Yes," said Anne. "I have the feeling that if anyone has to be cremated, it couldn't happen to a more objectionable sheik." We'd counted on the commotion to attract Mother's attention, and now she opened her window and put her head out. "What in the world is going on?" she called. "What are you doing with that torch? Which one of you is swinging it? That doesn't look safe to me, children." "I have it," Anne said. "Is that all right, Mother? We've tracked a skunk up in the cherry tree and we're trying to make him come down." Mother sniffed the air suspiciously. "I thought I smelled something," she said. "Now listen, children, I don't think you ought to burn up that cherry tree for an old skunk. Your dad is devoted to that tree and he's devoted to cherry pie. Just come on in the house and let's see if the skunk won't come down and go away by itself." "Oh, we weren't really going to burn the tree," Ernestine giggled. "We just wanted to scare the hell out of the skunk." "Ernestine, I forbid that kind of Eskimo language," Mother said in a shocked tone. "Now I think you'd better come into the house, all of you. It's bedtime and even a skunk is entitled to some peace and quiet. You've scared him enough for one night. I'll bet his eyes are about to pop out of his head with what he's seen tonight." Mother disappeared inside the window. "I'll bet," Ernestine said for the benefit of Motorcycle Mac, "that his eyes were about to pop out of his head with what he thought he was going to see. Now, slink down out of that cherry tree, you rat, you." "If Dad were here," Bill said, "he'd probably blind him like they did back in Lady Godiva's day." "That's just what Dad would do," Anne agreed. "I wish we had thought of that ourselves." "Should I go get a hairpin? Hat pin?" Frank asked hopefully. "Too late now," Anne said. "It's past your bedtime, but maybe he'll come back again some other night." Okay, we have one more chapter to go. and then I'll do a little follow-up on what happened with the rest of the family later on. Okay, bye-bye.